Hello. Welcome back to the David67 Celtic News YouTube channel. Today's video going to be a bit of a look back to the awful result on Saturday against Motherwell. Extremely disappointing 1-1 draw. A little bit of a reflection on Aberdeen's great result yesterday, which keeps us 8 points clear over the other Glasgow club, and a brief look forward to Tuesday's game against Lazio, and we'll do a more in-depth preview of the Lazio game tomorrow morning first thing. Now, for those that watched my little live stream yesterday, which was live, whilst waiting for the Celtic women's match to start up on television, I clearly showed that I was extremely disappointed in all the players and very disappointed in Brendan Rodgers' performance also on Saturday, and feel that Celtic have quite a lot of lessons to learn for the remainder of the season. However, what I would also say, in response to quite a lot of other pundits and Celtic fans, internet site, YouTube sites, etc., is I think Celtic's current squad are more than good enough to do the double this season of League and Cup. I think we are a better team, a better squad, better managed, better coached, and better behind the scenes team than any other team in Scotland. I think we are, what the game on Saturday showed was that we are a little bit too prone to bad performances. I was rather bemused by a lot of the pundits and Celtic fan sites criticising the new young players, when for me it's actually players like Carter Vickers, Hart, McGregor, O'Reilly, Taylor, who should be pushing them and Kyogo, who should be pushing themselves forward. They're all experienced international players. They're all established, well paid. They've been through tough times and good times, and it should be them who are the reliable players playing well week in, week out, whilst players like Yang, Palma, Scales, Thiago Holm, Telio might be a bit in and out as they get used to playing in Scotland, get used to the different styles of defence, get used to different weather conditions, pitch conditions, etc. However, all of the aforementioned experienced players are well used to playing in all different sorts of conditions, circumstances, and they should really be the ones rolling up their sleeves and supporting their younger, inexperienced teammates, and they should really be the ones who are pushing forward in the last 5-10 minutes to get that goal. I do feel this season under Rodgers we haven't quite had this same cohesiveness, team spirit that we did under Ange Postecoglou, and indeed that which we had under Rodgers the first time, or Neil Lennon in the first season and a bit of his second spell. And I always am very nervous when we go into the last 5-10 minutes of a match this season, as I don't feel like I did under Postecoglou that we were going to get that vital goal, or if we were already up, keep that vital lead for the last 5-10 minutes. I had a terrible feeling when Turnbull's penalty went in that Motherwell were going to go up the other end and score, which of course they did in the corresponding fixture early in the season at Motherwell, where luckily Matt O'Reilly then went up the other end and scored the winner with literally the last kick of the ball. However, this time Celtic wasted a couple of chances in the added 10 minutes, and of course, Matt O'Reilly, very near to the end of that 10-minute added period, rather fluffed a fairly easy header that went well wide of the goal. The other thing I was very disappointed with was Brendan Rodgers' lack of response to Motherwell's changing tactics. Motherwell went the goal down. They immediately brought on a couple of tall players, shoved them forward, and for me, it was crying out to bring on Nat Phillips, taking off one of the wide players such as Yang, maybe taking off taking off Mikey Johnston, shoving on Phillips, playing a back five, with Scales, Phillips, and CCV in the middle, and Ralston and Taylor playing as withdrawn wing-back type roles. It was, for me, really awful to see a player of 6 foot tall, Ubika, being marked by our left back, Greg Taylor, who's only 5'7". Really bad organisation, which for me you have to put down to a combination of Joe Hart and Carter Vickers as the two most experienced players on the defensive side in the box. Also put things down to Rodgers and his coaching staff, because our ability to defend corners and high balls into the box is very poor. Quite why we didn't have a player on the back post, I'll never know either. The number of times Celtic have been frustrated in similar circumstances in Europe and in Scotland by a player at the back post or front post being there to clear headers and shots off the line. Celtics just don't seem to choose that tactic, and I'm not very sure, particularly in the dying minutes of a match, quite why we were so badly organised. Joe Hart stuck in his line, flapping uselessly. Carter Vickers, Scales, not taking control. Callum McGregor not organising things. And bizarrely, we've got 5'7" player marking a 6 foot tall player, whilst our 6'3" defender, Nat Phillips, is sitting on the bench, which was really of no use. We do need to defend Leeds better, and if that does mean playing defensively for 5 minutes or 10 minutes, all well and good. We were in a fairly similar position against Atletico Madrid. We shored things up, which guaranteed us 2 points. And now at that time I was rather critical because I thought we had the chance against Atletico Madrid at Celtic Park to push forward in that last 10 minutes or so after they had their player sent off. However, this is a different situation, and quite why we didn't respond to Motherwell's change of tactics by going like for like. We would have had Scales at 6'2", Phillips at 6'3", Carter Vickers at 6'1", which would have very capably covered all of Motherwell's taller attacking players that they brought on for the last few minutes of the match. Other thing that was rather disappointing me was the fact that Marco Tilio got just a few minutes in the added time period, around about 5 minutes. Not certain whether Yang was injured, as some are mentioning, or whether it just simply was to give some minute time to Tilio. However, given the fact that Yang is going to be starting almost certainly against Lazio on Tuesday, it did seem a little bit unusual for me that it was Yang who played right through to the 94th minute, whilst Palmer was taken off with around about 25 minutes to go in the main match. And Bizarrely, for me, also taking off Palmer and shoving on Mikey Johnston, another really pretty awful substitution. Johnson has no future at Celtic. Tillio, Yang, Palmer, Abada all do have a real history, history and a real chance and potential to do very well for Celtic in the next 5 years or so. Mikey Johnston should be out the team and away to Pastors New in January. I do hope that Celtic and David Turnbull come to some kind of arrangement, as I think David Turnbull is a very good player to come off the bench in the kind of circumstances we had against Motherwell at the weekend. I don't see him really as a starter because he doesn't do enough for the team, tracking back, helping out defence, helping out his fellow midfielders, but he is good at dead ball situations, pretty good at corners, pretty good at free kicks, and has a good ability to score from outside the box, and is a reliable penalty taker, having missed one this season, but did very calmly score the penalty with a couple of minutes of normal time left after Luis Palma, disappointingly for the first time in his career as professional, missed a penalty. A couple of other things being mentioned in the press and on Celtic fan sites is what Celtic are going to be looking for in the January transfer window. I think the two obvious positions we need to cover are goalkeeper, as the performance by Hart on Saturday was back to his harem scarum levels. He was pretty lucky in the first half when he was lobbed that Carter Vickers was able to track back and cover, and then on the rebound off after that, the Motherwell player then blazed the ball over the bar with Hart out of position. Hart did make one good save later in the first half, had very, very little, if anything, to do in the second half, but really needed, for me, to come out, clear that ball. Goalkeepers virtually never get penalised for clearing out players in the 6 yard box. Hart is not very good at coming for crosses and punching, but for me that situation was just perfect for Hart to come bursting through Abika and the other 5 or 6 Motherwell players in and around the 6 yard box and punch that ball up the pitch for O or Tillio, etc., to take forward. Anyway, the other position obviously Celtic need to cover is going to be, for me, an additional striker. Some speculation that Celtic are going to rekindle their interest in Matthias Kvistgaarden, the under-21 Danish international, who's had a good season for Brøndby. It does appear that Kvistgaarden also is on the radar for several English clubs and Bundesliga clubs. As yet, those have not been fully announced who they are. I would be surprised if it's any of the top English Premier League or Bundesliga clubs, probably more likely teams in the relegation halves of both those leagues, and whether Kvistgaarden would prefer to go to up-and-coming successful club where medals and cups are guaranteed, or whether he'd prefer to go off to a struggling English Premier League or struggling Bundesliga team is less certain. I think certainly from having watched him online and various YouTube videos, I think he is a player who would do very well at Celtic. Another option being put forward regarding an additional striker is Lawrence Shankland, who obviously has been very successful in his Hearts career, has scored 6 goals for Hearts this season in the Scottish Premier League, came on and scored a very good equaliser for Scotland against Georgia. I think Shankland certainly will score lots of goals for us in Scotland. Don't think I would be quite so confident of him leading the attack in Europe, a wee bit similar to a Scott McDonald or a Gary Hooper or a Lee Griffiths, scored tons of goals for us in Scotland, but all struggled on the European stage. But I do think that would be an option to sign Shankland, and Shankland and Kvistgaarden, or Shankland and Van Hooijdonk. I think both would be good options. Shankland often giving us the Scotland origin player option for UEFA quotas, etc. as well. Another player that may well be on Celtic's radar, covering for Joe Hart, probably allowing both Siegrist and Bain to go away from the club, would be to sign Liam Kelly, who will be out of contract for Motherwell at the end of this season. He, of course, has recently made his Scotland debut, seems to be one of Scotland's international squad goalkeepers. Probably when Kvistgaarden comes back to fitness, I expect that our goalkeepers will be Gunn, Gordon, and Liam Clark. Liam Kelly. Liam Kelly. And so I think Liam Kelly would be a much better backup to a new younger keeper such as Kelleher or Lunan, with maybe Joe Hart taking more over as a player coach type role, or leaving the club as his contract is also up at the end of this season. One other wee bit of Celtic news was the Scottish Cup draw for the fourth round, which will be on the 20th and 21st of January next year. Celtic have drawn Buckie Thistle, who are currently lying fifth in the Highland League, and so this obviously looks like an extremely easy fourth round option for Celtic. Remembering also that our squad will be rather depleted at that time due to the Asian Cup, where we could well be without Hatate, Kyogo, Dyson-Maeda, O and Yang, and potentially even Marco Tilio if he's worked his way back into the Australian squad, as Australia also will be competing in the Asian Cup from early January through to the middle part of February next year. Just about finishes things off today. Looking ahead to the Lazio match. Not fully clear if Celtic got through the game on Saturday with a full squad. There are some rumours that Yang was injured. That's why Tilio came on for the last 5 minutes or so of added time. No certainty over whether Alistair Johnston is carrying some form of knock or muscular problem, to explain why he was on the bench rather than starting instead of Ralston. Hopefully, Brendan Rodgers and the coaching team will clarify which players are going to be available for Celtic, remembering also, disappointingly, Lewis Palma will be missing due to 2 yellow cards. Dyson-Maeda is out injured, but would have been missing this game anyway due to his red card last game against Atletico Madrid. Plus, we obviously have Rio Hatate Abada still out injured. Which brings us the dreaded situation that if Yang is injured, we're going to be going into the game against Lazio with the wonderful James Forrest on one side and the even more wonderful, inverted commas, Mikey Johnson on the other. Hopefully, however, Brendan Rodgers and the team will clarify over the course of today who's going to be on the way to Rome for Tuesday. So, thanks for listening. Thanks for watching. If you do like the channel, do click that subscribe button and feel free to pop any comments regarding Saturday and the game on Tuesday and Celtic in general into the comment section. And so for today, goodbye and hail, hail.